Servus Jürgen, unmute. Kannst du mich hören?
Yes, Sir. Grüß dich.
Servus, grüß dich. Wir sind früh und wahrscheinlich die einzigen halt, weil es ist August. Da sind
Ja,
alle im
und morgen
Urlaub
ist Feiertag und so weiter und so fort.
und so weiter und so fort, ja. Ah, der Roland ist da. Okay,
Ich habe es dem Alessandro noch einmal geschickt, gerade eben, aber
ja.
ich habe nicht mit ihm gesprochen. Weiß nicht, wie christlich die Italiener sind.
Ferragosto, Ferragosto. Ist heute der Ferragosto 14. oder morgen?
Heute ist der 14., aber ich weiß nicht, was Ferragosto ist. Da bist du mir wieder meilenweit voraus.
Ist Italiano, Italiano. Ein bisschen im Süden von Bayern, du bist dann Italiano. Ja.
Das weiß ich schon.
Ja, die sagen,
Ferragosto.
Die sagen Ferragosto, da ist wirklich alles geschlossen. Ja. Also es würde mich total wundern, wenn der kommt. Ach,
Ja,
dann ist
ja,
sozusagen
morgen,
morgen am
morgen,
Brückentag. Ich verstehe.
nein, morgen ist bei uns Maria Himmelfahrt.
Ah, dann ist morgen Ferragosto. Okay.
Ja, also bayerischer
Ja, jetzt ist
wichtigster.
es offiziell, Ferragosta ist am 15. August und die katholische
Also,
Kirche begeht an diesem Datum den Feiertag Maria Himmelfahrt.
ja,
Ja,
also.
jetzt mache ich ein bisschen laut. Äh, Roland ist ein bisschen leise. Dann haben. So, we have a very new visitor today. Is Cecilia Zhou. She's from Hong Kong. She is my candidate, patent attorney candidate.
Hello.
Hi, Cecilia.
Hi. Nice to meet you all.
Roland is also a patent attorney.
Ah,
Yeah. And then we have Jürgen here. Jürgen Brügel. He's from Munich, a serial innovator. Um, maybe we start with questions. What are we doing here? Because Cecilia is very new. So yeah, if I may introduce what we are doing here. This is the 4x4, formerly innovation meet. Now we call 4x4 growth meet, because Frank Mattes, one of the participants, told me that nobody is using innovation anymore. This is a buzzword that has no meaning anymore, because anybody does innovation.
mm-hmm.
Maybe it is what a coincidence, because just 4 years ago, the ISO organization created um, an ISO, what is it, norm? I don't know what the English word for that one is, for innovation. Is a standard definition of innovation. And a norm means something. Can please somebody help me, of other Germans? What is norm in English?
The same norms.
Yeah, but norms is a too easy translation of norm. I believe there's a different word for that. Let me see.
Engineering standards.
Engineering standard. Okay. Yeah, which is right. A norm.
Oder international standards, harmonized standards,
Yeah.
unified standards. Uh,
We all
and
love
so
unified. Okay. So there's a ISO standard for ISO standard is the word. ISO standard for innovation, and they just innovated the innovation standard when the word innovation became a buzzword with no meaning, because everybody's using it for. So it's really something that is. So we replace innovation by growth, and the background is when there was the first COVID-19 lockdown in 2020, I remember in May 2020, I was also locked up like everybody. And then I thought, what do I do now with my spare time? And I found it quite funny, because it's really like in jail, but you can do whatever you want. You have all your resources around you, plus the internet. So I sat down and I thought about my career as a patent attorney, which I started in 1992, and that was then 28 years before.
Mhm.
I looked at the many companies that went bankrupt, and the many because of innovation or because of not innovation. So, and I also looked at the many innovators or inventors that I've seen that destroyed their existence. They destroyed everything they had. And I was thinking, hello, Rich. Hi. Yeah. So I'm just talking for the new participants. Cecilia, she will join us more often. Hello, Michael. What we are doing here. So, and in 2020, in this lockdown, I sat down and I thought about what is the core of my when it comes to small and medium-sized companies. And then I wrote a book which is called the Innovation 4x4 Innovation Strategy, which is essentially a phase gate approach from my perspective as a patent attorney, what I have seen went wrong in the more than 100 bankruptcies that I have seen from inside.
Mhm.
And I didn't have many innovation books at the time because, I mean, in the lockdown, number one, you couldn't get to a library, for example. It was not possible. And then on Amazon, if you type in innovation, you would find something like 100,000 books. And so I started with a book about an MIT textbook about innovation. And I found out that wait, let me check. I may even have it here in my book. And I found out that this book was very much into one specific way of doing innovation. It was very, 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 very specific, and it was highly promoted at that time. And so I wrote my book around that textbook, my own book, and then I thought, okay, now I need to find a few people that are also into innovation, and then let's discuss and find out more. And now, 5 years later or 4 years later, we are here, and you find a few of the people that came every Thursday at 4 p.m. German time or 8 a.m. Chicago time. And
Yeah.
it's Rich McDonald and Michael Ostrowski, and then a few others. Roland Rill, he joined us later. Jürgen Brügel came last year. And so that's what you have. And my insight grew tremendously over the years because so many people brought so many things to the table. And I'm so happy, Rich, that you are here today because I have a few questions about a few books that we have mentioned over the past meetings, which were quite turbulent. The last one, I received a lot of feedback for that one. People enjoyed viewing the approach of pre-sales for providing income. Now I found it. So this MIT book was about design thinking, and there was a lot of marketing about that. And today, only today, I know that design thinking is one of many tactics that you can use when you do innovation. And maybe it's not even the best one, but it's taught at MIT. So that's it. Yeah. So Roland and Rich and Michael, you want to contribute anything into that, so that Cecilia would better understand what we are doing here?
Well, I just sort of joined in when you were going through your description of, the beginnings of the group, etc. But the only thing I can add to it is that, as a practitioner in innovation for several decades, and as a leader manager, and then also as a independent consultant in the innovation space. I guess the few of the things I can add is, number one is this group has been pretty interesting, for me personally, just from the standpoint that, there's a lot of topics that we cover that are, I'm going to say, really specific to, innovation management, innovation, from the ideation stage and all the way through to, the marketing and the commercialization of the product. So it's just not, one flavor, right? And it's not the same thing that we're constantly beating up. We tend to, to beat up a wide range of projects and products and, approaches. So I think it's, just very illuminating, from the standpoint that you can come and be with us and sort of get a different spin on, innovation, not only from a large corporate perspective, but also from, a startup perspective. And I don't think there's any place else that you can find that, frankly.
Yeah, true,
Thank
right? Yeah, this is really very special. Just to give you, that came to my mind. We will probably have the president of Technical University of Munich with us in 1 month down the road. When we do the ICI with the German Chamber of Commerce overseas, and I'm still thinking about what we could discuss with him. And I have a few points that we could discuss, and you would seldom find a president of a technical university in an innovation chat group. Number one, because a president is someone in a higher management of the university, is a bit detached from the innovation itself. And I know the presidents of the Technical University of Munich well for decades, because I'm a lecturer here in the Technical University of Munich campus in Asia, and somehow I'm one of the constants here for the local campus. And so when the presidents come down, they would see me at the beer fest that they do every time. And yeah, so then I sit next to them and I have a chat with them, and they find out, what is Singapore? So they somehow link Singapore with me. And yeah, so that's one point. And we can ask these people what we want, right? They're very open, and here there's no agenda that we're pursuing. We are actually very curious. And yeah, more. Rich, you want to say something, please?
I just as I completed my thought, I lost all my internet connectivity. So I don't know what's been going on since I last talked, but I just rejoined. So if you could.
Okay, yeah, I was just telling that we're very soon we have the president of the Technical University of Munich here, and we can ask him anything, right? And I believe that university is the leading technical university in Germany, and that means that it's playing in a same league as the MIT, maybe Caltech, and well, probably that. I don't know how you see it from the US or so, but Germany is the third largest economy in the world. US and is the largest one. The second is China. So I believe and Germany is a technology country. So I believe if you have the leading technical university in Germany, then you could say that with all right that and say it in the same sentence as the best universities in the US and in China.
Well, I just looked it up, the different rankings, and the TU Munich worldwide on position 22. Okay, I guess the top regions are covered by American and British universities. But yeah, the Technical University in Munich, which is where I studied as well, so we are both alumni. According to a recent report, it's the one university which produces most of the founders who create startups. So that nicely fits into the complete picture which you just draw about the technical university. And so we can conclude that the president of the technical university really fits into this 4x4 group, because if his university encourages people to create startups, then he's in the right place talking to us.
Yeah, I'm a bit, yeah, it all falls together, right? That the big advantage of the US universities is that money there is much more easy to access for startups. So if you, yeah, that's,
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's also a culture of financing in German universities. So when I studied and when you studied, I mean, we did our studies, and somewhere outside there was this world of industry and of implementing information or innovations which were gathered in the universities. Meanwhile, you have specialized personnel for handling patent ideas. You have alumni circles, you have investor circles, angel circles, who within the university already prepare eager and capable students to create their later startups. So the times have been changing quite a lot.
Okay. I'm referring here to the statistics that Rich gave me, something like maybe 1 month ago, and it was the top 10 global research institutions. Rich, I don't know whether you remember that, and then it was about that the Chinese, it was about the articles, the research article share that they had, and the Chinese Academy of Sciences had something like 2,776 rank one, and the next one was Harvard University, which less than half of that, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Chinese universities, about the same size or a little bit less than Harvard, followed by one German society, the Max Planck Gesellschaft, also in the same magnitude as Harvard, and followed by another one, Shanghai, Jiaotong, another Chinese university. So from the top 10, 8 are from China. And I don't know what conclusion you have drawn from that one, Rich, but maybe you want to chime in here, because I believe that is something that we could discuss with the president of the Technical University of Munich.
Sure. Yeah, certainly. The outcome that you just described is really with the understanding that basically when you take a look at what China has done, and from going from an agricultural based society to being the center of manufacturing for decades, right?
Yes.
In that shift, I've talked about here before, the concept of absorptive capacity, and basically that is referring to and sort of demonstrating the whole effect of absorptive capacity at a national country level. And what has happened, before, if I would have compiled that list, from 20, 25, 30 years ago, and we looked at it today, you would see 20, 25 years ago, Chinese weren't even on that list. They were, completely absent. And now they are dominating that list, right? And what that means is basically that, they have caught up and surpassed many of the other economies of the world, and are challenging, the American society as well from a learning and innovation standpoint. and that's the main message with that, Louis.
Yeah. We have a very interesting guest with Cecilia. I'm not sure, Cecilia, how open you are about your own history.
What do you mean, my own history?
Okay, I tell here what I know from you, which I find very interesting. You were born in a little village in north of Shanghai, right?
West of
West.
Shanghai. Yeah, similar.
And you are 33 years old, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you grew up in that environment until the age of?
I moved to a big city for high school, so until the age of 15.
So until the age of 15, that was, wait, so let me calculate back. That is until 2006.
Six. Yeah.
So what do you remember 2006 from the town, city, village that you come from?
Wow. Well, I grew up in the best times of China, really, from the 90s. So every year or every 5 years, life is better than before. So, and everything changes, not just the villages change, the cities change as well. But overall,
I'm talking about what do you remember when you were 10 years old? Was it a village where you lived, like with cows on the street every
no.
evening, or-
Chinese villages are very different from Germany villages.
Okay.
Chinese villages, well, especially the ones in Southeast Asia, are very dense. For example, my village would probably have 10,000 people, just our village alone. So it's very dense. And by the time that I grew up, say late 90s, both my parents worked in factories already. So like my grandparents farmed, obviously. But in the 90s, most of the population from my village work in factory because that part of China, the land is too valuable to be farmed. So factories pop up, pretty dense. So for example, my family lost our allocated farmland around that time, late 90s. Basically, they paid us 10,000 RMB only for the entire plot that was allocated to us during the communist time to farm. And later, yeah, even though by registration we were farmers, but we had no land. Everyone kind of worked in the factory. So that's my recollection of the 90s. And then things just changed pretty fast from there onwards.
Okay. And by age 15, you moved to a larger city for your high school.
Yes.
And you were a very good student.
I am, yes.
Okay. So something like best in the state of Shanghai or something, or?
In my province, which every year 500,000 people attend the national examination entrance, I would be in top 50.
Okay. And that qualified you for going away from China? And
from my high school, I got a scholarship to Singapore. So I had been in Singapore since 2010, and then moved to Switzerland, then moved back to Shanghai, now in Hong Kong.
Okay. So if you go back to your home village, what's the difference today when you compare?
Well, in the 90s, for example, we had no appliances. It would be a big deal, for example, every year to purchase a new piece of home appliances, like a TV, a washing machine. You had to budget for that. Like you don't have the money to buy an entire home's new appliances in 1 year. Every year, my parents would work on, which is the necessity this year. Then we would purchase, say, a washer. And the next year or in the next 2 years, we would purchase a TV. Like we didn't have an air conditioner until early 2000, I would say. But nowadays, like everyone's home has all more than what they need, I would imagine, even from my home village. Okay. So life quality for sure improved, but at the sacrifice of environmental quality. Before we could swim in the river, You could even drink it if you boil it properly, but nowadays it's impossible. I mean, last 5 years, it's better again. It's like a curve. The worst of environmental quality was 2010 to 2015. It's really the worst. The last 10 years, Xi Jinping is trying very hard on that. So the air is again breathable. Water responsibility lies at the mayor level. For example, if you have a dirty river, the mayor loses his job. So it's been very good, that side.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my story.
Yeah, sure. But does this match with what Rich is telling that 30 years ago, when we talk about rankings of universities on an international level, China wasn't visible at all, right? But today it's very visible because of the. But I'm even not sure about whether this ranking is the right one. Or when Roland looks up the ranking of our university, rank 22 internationally, what that means, I have no idea. But to me, what I can see traveling to China back and forth, and I go there since more than 20 years on a frequent basis. Today, China is I'm talking about Shanghai because I was there in January. Shanghai has become a modern city that is aging, and that shows signs of aging, because the big construction boom is over, and now the buildings become normal, like decaying a bit, right? There are not so many new buildings anymore as there were 10 years ago on a frequent basis. So I can see all this, and then it's maturing. That maturing is probably the best word for that. So that's what I can see. And probably that's also what we see when we look at the rankings of the university. And these are all signs of maturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say, Martin,
Yes.
Michael here.
Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just Googled best worldwide engineering universities, and I got one that's very popular for business schools in the U.S. also. U.S. News does an annual survey. So TUM is number 72. Sorry to disappoint you and Roland, but you might pull up the list when we get done today, Martin. It's usnews.com.
I'm not surprised when you look at statistics from the US that the US would rate their own universities better than
No. Of the top 10, 4 are Chinese, by the way. The number 1 is Chinese. I can't pronounce it. TSINGHUA, Qingsu.
Tsinghua.
Yeah, and then Nanyang is number 2. Harbin is number 3. That's in China. The Shanghai is number 4. The top 5 are all Chinese on the U.S. News listing, so they're certainly not biased.
the Harbin University is number 2. What?
Harbin is number 3 on this list of U.S. News.
Cecilia,
it's the best global universities. They're not biased to the U.S. by any means.
Okay, good. Cecilia, tell me, what would the Chinese say about Harbin?
Well, the engineering university is pretty strong because it's said by the U.S. government to have military background. So how can you not be strong? But overall,
I think it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, overall, because northern part of China was heavy industry, basically developed clear in the 50s, 60s. So it has richer engineering background than the southern universities of China. And Harbin is like the most north, one of the most northern cities in China.
I think it's important also, Martin, to your point, the ranking in terms of scientific universities versus engineering. So medical schools are not in this list. So, and then if you rank them for the number of innovations or the number of startups, so you got to be careful how you rank. This is based, I think, on academic quality. So the title is Best Global Universities Engineering. So
These
and
rankings usually heavily rely on citations and publications, and then Chinese universities are very good at popping up those numbers. It's like, in a way, rigging the game of ranking. If you have enough publications, enough citations, your rank goes up. To the same degree, Singaporean universities do the same. Every year, the two universities in Singapore, their ranks go up because they do the same game.
Yeah, that's true. And actually that list that I had provided you, Martin, basically is based on citations.
Yes, it says here, ranked by research article share.
Yeah, and that's citations.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you
But
can.
again, Rich and Martin, if those articles could be biological sciences or environmental, it could be medical, so in the world of articles and citations, it's important to segment engineering versus other scientific disciplines.
Yeah, I don't disagree. To my knowledge, that encompassed all engineering and medical and scientific. So,
Yeah, I mean, for that's also quite a how to say, a sensitive matter. Now coming back to the definition of innovation and this industry standard now for innovation, it comes with two components. As I said, innovation is novelty times value. And I believe the best way to measure value is money on the table. So the more profit you do with your innovation, the better the innovation. And there's even a definition of power for innovation. Innovative power is novelty times the value divided by the time that it needs to get generated. So the shorter, the more profit in less time, the more powerful the novelty and therefore the innovation. And my question is really whether universities are involved in innovation. And I would say in most of the cases, when what the article are about, not. Because it's more like science, like the joy of finding out something and whether it has a value or not. And that drove me away at a very early stage from the university environment, because I wanted to do something that has an impact in life and not just finding out how a certain material behaves under certain border conditions. So,
yeah, Martin, but that's the classical approach, the pure world of science, and I very well remember those days. I think that considerably changed in the past decades, actually. Theoretically speaking, you are right, and universities in Germany still do the basic research. They would not even be allowed to profit from their research results. I mean, for particular legal reasons, they have to create independent startups to make use of the innovation originally found during university research.
okay.
But the general attitude has changed. I agree with you. 30 years ago, when you ask a high school professor, how about inventing something for industry? Oh, no. I want to do my science. I'm doing for the value I'm doing this for the value of science and not for money or something like that. That has changed. So universities and industry collaborate, and I think both of them are really contributing to innovation, no matter by what standard you mean to measure innovation. Yeah.
And that brings me back to the Technical University of Munich. They have a startup incubator organization attached that leverages on all that. And Jürgen, BMW, you were a long-time BMW serial innovator. What can you tell us about the cooperation between the Technical University of Munich and other and yeah, how do they produce innovation and not only science?
Okay, two things. First of all, I put in our chat two links about the startup scene at the Technical University in Munich, and they're talking about 1,000 success stories. This might be an interesting topic to talk to this dean, I think he's called, and also the next events that also tells a lot where more or less alumni are talking and not industry people who are doing these things. Anyway, startup. There is one arm of BMW, what is whatever in stone's throw to the Technical University in Munich. And they are really also sponsoring research and looking for new ideas for people, and they get practica, they internships,
Yes.
and all these things, and they are intentionally very very close to this technical university in Garching.
Yes.
So and the arm is called research, and they are not bound to series production. They're not bound towards what is the price of is, can we afford it in mass production, and so on and so forth. They are still have the freedom to do a multi-year project of researching new technologies, new battery chemistry, and new microphones, for example, was an interesting part. Then when they are finished, then they start talking to the real engineers, in quotation marks, real engineers, the people who have to think of methods to put this in series production. This arm is also, there are subsidiaries in Silicon Valley and in all tech offices around the world. There is one in Shanghai, there is one in Tokyo, there is one in Korea, there's one in Tel Aviv, there is one, yeah, in Silicon Valley. That's about it. So they have there also offices, and they're scouting also in the bigger markets and are interesting technology innovators, just to be at the pulse and also to get to get access to these people, to talk to them and maybe convince them to work with us. So
Okay.
this is what I can tell you about the scene. In the last years, it was more towards software engineering, but with AI and so on, real IT is diminishing, and AI, as we also heard from Alessandro 2 weeks ago, has a massive impact where everybody is looking how can we benefit from there? And it's also not necessarily to be in the consumer product in the end, but also in production, in logistics, in software debugging, and so on. So they are allowed to look at the complete range.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that says something, right? That that university has realized that innovation must come with some application and produce value in a monetary form. So, yeah. And then I believe that would be quite interesting to discuss. And
Look
yeah,
at the links I put in the chat.
yeah,
That might be a good start.
I've sent them. I've sent them these two links to my marketing team because they would all set up all this. So
Cool.
yeah, good. That is one thing. Another thing that might be interesting for our president would be you brought it up, Jürgen, AI, and you know or you heard that it's not allowed to use AI for producing theses that are part of the university exams that give you a degree. But of course, students would use AI to write them and then find ways to make it such that it's not visible. And
Yeah, it was like back in the days where I still had to use ink and paper, and I was already running at home AutoCAD.
yes, for example, you mean when you did technical drawings, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had to use paper.
Okay, but that, yeah, of course, we all had that
Yeah.
at that time.
It's a transition. It's a transition. I mean, think of the calculator. It's such an Today nobody is using the Rechenschieber. I don't know even know abacus or how it's called in English.
Slide rule.
It's a transition in style, in learning, in acceptance, and also the teaching bodies have to adopt to newer technologies, and that might be also an interesting question. How does it work? Are the universities independent? How they score success or tests? Or is there a governing party that says, no, in Germany, you're not allowed to use calculators anymore?
I don't know. I mean, I also found that funny because when I studied engineering, we could use calculators, but not programmable calculators. Yep.
Yeah, sounds familiar. No, but this the problem of writing thesis and some stuff like that, that's really a difficult problem. A couple of months ago, I listened to a radio report about that. And I think there's at least one university, but I don't remember the name, which really says, okay, we cannot make sure that a thesis presented by a student really was created by him and was not created by artificial intelligence. So their approach to find a solution was we still have to better rely on oral examinations. We already in the past 20 years educated generations of children, school children, which before this time learned things and memorized things. And now we have a generation which says, I don't know it, but I can Google it for you. Okay, that doesn't help me.
Yeah.
And it, of course, becomes worse with the advent of artificial intelligence. So what you mentioned, Martin, is spot on. It's a hot topic. And one solution to the problem might indeed be increased and intensified oral examinations so that the professors can really check whether what was written in the thesis is also in the brain of the student, because he or she will have to will have to answer questions. Sorry, had a long night after me, a little bit disintegrated. He will have to prove that he really knows the stuff.
Yeah, and my suggestion would be to use a bot for generating these questions.
Yeah, as long as we make sure that it's the real student who has to answer them and not just some holographic
Other
representation of
other
the
bot,
student.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Only machine can beat the machine.
I mean, my first thought was, look, instead of banning AI, I would rather teach students to use AI properly. And I mean, I see that in my firm, because we have people. I mean, we are leveraging heavily on AI. You know already, right? Because we are drafting patents using AI. We for every step we try to use AI. I even published a book review of a book that was written before AI was mundane, and but if you apply what you know from AI, you would know that this is the AI book. It's on my blog. So, and probably they also published it or multiplied it on LinkedIn. So if you look out for that, I really, this is doing 10 times. The title of the book is doing 10 times is easier than doing 2 times for growth, like, and innovation. So, and it says, look for growing 10 times and just know that 20% of you do influence 80% of the outcome. So when you look at your company, when it's 10 times as big as before, just do that, what that future company would do, and only that, and leave all the other stuff away. And for me as a patent attorney means you cannot leave so much away because our profession is quite regulated. So, but we can automate, and you can automate 80%. And what I would suggest is that a technical university would have an ongoing course over the entire duration of the program that teaches students to be on top of what AI can do for them. And when I say AI, not only the generative models that we have since 3 years ago, but also all other areas of AI. And AI is much more than just generative models. And so I believe that should be part of every student's course, especially in a technical university. Just to give you some context, I'm currently recording a course about the new EU AI Act. The EU has in April, actually last year already, set an act in place that is a direct law in all member states that regulates the use of AI in business, not in private, but in business. And so I'm preparing this course, and I do one very technical module that explains how AI works to a degree that you would understand what is the danger of using AI. And I do this because I'm working with AI for 30 years is not enough. 40 years. I had my first neural network model in age 18 on a Atari 64 or Atari 1024. Yeah. So I work with artificial intelligence for decades already. I write patents about artificial intelligence and so on. So for me, this module was very simple. But I realized when I talk about people with a module, they don't understand why AI is not deterministic. And they can also not work with a program that is not deterministic and derive value from using that program. But I demonstrate in my daily work that this is possible. And in our firm, we have people who are also capable of doing so. So we have, maybe she's even listening right now. So I'm driving people to think about what standard repetitive work they can outsource to AI, or outsource in the first place and then outsource to AI. And I believe if you do this over many years, then the compounding effect of that would provide extra more than linear growth. I don't even say exponential growth, but it is some sort of exponential growth. And I believe that a technical university should not only teach students from all areas what is AI and how to use it, but also on that strategy to apply AI to areas that are routine works and focus more on the non-routine works that are even strategic. That's what I would expect from a technical university today. And that means, for me, automatically, that the thesis is written using AI. And that also means that the examiners of those students would also use AI to examine those students. Because ultimately, an examination should be such. I mean, that's what I have learned from my students' days. And I believe Cecilia is the same with her experience. I was always in an environment where schools gave us and universities gave us made it a hard time to achieve an A+. A+ being the best grade. In our times it was 1.0. I believe that in 5 years at university I had maybe once or twice a 1.0 in a semestrial grade, but all the others were 1.3, 1.7, 2.0, 2.3. And with that grade, I was in the top 10% of the students, and I was only top 10 and not top 1% because I had other things apart from my studies that were also important. But today, to me, it seems that it's very unusual when a student fails university. And while it was very normal for me in the Technical University of Munich that after 4 years, the cohort was reduced by at least 50%. And so that's what I would expect from, and I would also expect the university to provide tangible knowledge, like drawing a machine when you do mechanical engineering, that they give you a piece of paper with square lines on it, thin square lines, and a pencil, and you get a rubber, an eraser, and you have 3 hours time, and then you are required to draw a gearbox such that someone who has a CAD program, a CAD program, can make a construction from that rough sketch. And I can see from the candidates that apply with us that this is lost over the 30 years or so, or maybe for 35 years that I left Technical University of Munich. That knowledge and that skill is no longer there. So I believe that technical universities, in order to generate people that can innovate, have to teach them how to use this AI and also allow that for the exams and for the theses and whatever. Is this something that is worth discussing with the president of a technical university?
I love the idea of allowing an open AI test, because the best tests that I ever had were open book tests. And so give them the tool. Make questions that are so challenging that they still have to comprehend the material before the AI actually solves it.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And
yeah, right at the moment, this is the part where AI fails, as far as I'm informed. So AI is dominant when you ask simple questions to it. But when researchers run tests where you really need what you just described, Joe, inherent understanding of the basis of the problem, then AI still or yet is incapable of doing that. This will change.
Wait. Roland, I have here vast experience. I've done, I would say,
share it.
Almost 300 trainings with patent attorneys in AI patent drafting. No, not 300 patent, 300 training sessions about drafting patents with AI. But other patent attorneys. I believe that there's no one in this world who has done as many trainings as I did. Even the manufacturers don't do this intensive training. And all that over the past 2 years. And what I found out is the main problem that people have with AI is that when they ask for help, they ask at a too high level. And the too high level means that, for example, many ask, I have this invention disclosure, write a patent application for me. And they would expect that the outcome is a perfect patent application, which is not the case. But if you ask the AI, write a list of technical features of the device that is described in this invention disclosure, then the AI is very good in extracting these technical features. And then you can ask the AI, okay, I train you with 10 prior art documents from that area, and it would even help you to find them. And then I say, please explain in very detail how these two components physically work together. And you would be surprised how precise the AI gives you a description of how two technical features work together as a support for the claim. And that helps tremendously when you draft a patent claim, because it would show you what you can claim and is much faster than before. And it's highly precise. And I believe that the same way can also be applied to provide solutions for technical problems that they see. And you know, as I know, and maybe the others who went to engineering school, for me, engineering school was always in the exam. They give you a technical problem and they expect you to solve it with the tools that they have trained you with in the course that was around, that you're about to be tested. Yeah. So, and you can, and I know that you can, I learned that you can approach the same type of problem, technical problem, from different angles using different theories, thermodynamics, mechanics, fluid dynamics, for example. So these three are always working together in the kind of problems that I was presented in the engineering school. And it depends on how deep you can go with the degree of mathematics that you can put in. But ultimately, I believe that a good AI would have helped me solve this problem right in the way that the course required me to do so. And the AI, you can even train with the course materials that you have, and then prepare yourself for later when you can apply the same bot that you have trained yourself in engineering school for real world problems. And I believe that is something that should be trained at an engineering school and not leave it to the smartest students to find it out themselves when they work later. So Joe, you give me a thumbs up, right? Because you know about what I'm talking.
Oh, I wanted to solve problems in school with using Microsoft spreadsheets, because some of those projects they had us doing iterative math, and it was easier to do it in a spreadsheet than that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and actually going out in the field with the tools, because I have folders of different spreadsheet solutions that I use in math. And one of my favorites, absolute favorites, is Antoine's equation, where it helps you understand the partial vapor pressure of moisture in the atmosphere.
That's
Love
useful.
that one.
Yes.
Yes,
I've used
very useful.
I've used that diagram, the vapor diagram, a lot. That's one of the diagrams I used most in my professional life. And it's so surprising for people that you can predict condensation, for example, that they don't understand, but you can even give them specific numbers, and then yeah. So yeah. Anyone else who wants to contribute last minute? Yeah, but you see already that will be quite an exciting discussion.
The last thing I want to add, I guess, is something that I haven't seen AI do great, or what I would like to do, is degrees of freedom analysis. When you have a problem or a linear algebra problem,
okay,
you typically do a degrees of freedom analysis. And then in chemical engineering, something that you kind of just described with all the thermodynamics and everything, is ICE tables, initial change and end tables, which then help you understand all the math models that go into your degrees of freedom analysis.
Yeah.
So if you made a test question that still requires the person to understand how to do that, and you give them AI is not going to do it for them.
Yeah. And then the AI would check whether the answer is right. And then, of course, the examiner must know more than the AI. So that's what I would expect. But maybe it's too much. Okay, we reached the end of our hour. Thank you so much for participating. See you again next week. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye bye.